Hey, this is JC and welcome to Small Brick City, where we want to help you build a Lego city regardless of the space you have. In this video, I'm going to show you how to get started building a Lego city with just 2 expert modular buildings. These are standard sets from Lego, each built on a 32 by 32 stud base plate. I know what you might be thinking, it's tough for a Lego city to be just comprised of 2 buildings. But I did choose these 2 specific modulars for a specific reason. It's because it looks like they are made up of multiple different buildings. The brick bank itself looks like it's made of 2 different buildings, such as the bank itself as well as the laundromat. And the detective's office on the right has several different buildings, from the bar and pool parlor below, the detective's office over here, apartments over here, and a hairdresser right below. So these 2 particular sets go together pretty well because they look like they're different buildings, different apartments, and different businesses, which looks like a complete city block. And with some creativity, we can give the impression that this is a small city display in itself. I have produced several videos on how to create a mini Lego city, but several people have mentioned that they don't have many sets or enough bricks to create multiple buildings. That's why this video only focuses on 2 sets, the 2 sets that you see before you. One other difference is I'm going to create roads mainly using these standard road plates, which are 32 by 32 studs, and I know many people have access to these road plates and will be using this. So if you like vehicles and have a lot of Lego vehicles, this display will be perfect for you. So let's get started. So here we have a top view of the 2 expert modular buildings, and typically when you have buildings like this and you've got standard road plates, the inclination is just to lay the road plates down around the 2 buildings and to create a simple layout. Now this is very straightforward and nothing wrong with that, but I personally would prefer to push the envelope a bit and do some custom work with your Lego city. Lego is all about building, but it's also about creating. And I think it's good to strive to have a custom Lego city, something that is different from anyone else in the world, even though you might have similar sets. And there's loads of opportunity for you to do this. It expands your creativity and also is lots of fun for you to tinker around with. So this is what I would suggest. Even though you have 2 expert modular buildings like this, one thing you can do is to create space in between as you lay out the roads. And when I use the word roads in the context of a Lego city, I refer to any kind of access passageway for vehicles or minifigs. For vehicles or minifigs, that means roads includes roads for vehicles, small alleyways, secondary roads like pedestrian-only roads, and even sidewalks. All these would fall under roads, and you want to create as much variety of the roads in your city layout. So don't just think of roads in terms of the road plates, because if you do, then you'd only come up with one potential layout, which may not be very dynamic. So the first thing I would suggest is to create space between the 2 modular buildings to create an alley. And that means pulling this aside like that. And what I would use are smaller base plates. So those are road plates, but these are 16 by 32 stud base plates. Now you can also just cut a standard 32 by 32 base plate into 4 pieces, and you get 4 pieces of 8 studs by 32 studs, and that will work perfectly. But since I have these smaller base plates, I'll use them. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to fit them between the 2 buildings to create an alley. And for this one over here, I've actually tiled the front so that it matches up and lines up the sidewalk with the 2 modular buildings. This creates continuity, and there's a lot of nice flow between the 2 buildings. But if you look down into the shadows of the alley, it looks like you can create different scenes and make it interesting, and it just looks like a dark alley that you do not want to walk down. But it adds so much dynamic value to your Lego city display. So in terms of the road plates, we can now settle and put some road plates down. What I'm going to do is to put this road plate over here, because I'm trying to create the illusion that this particular display extends beyond what you see, and I'll let the mind create and fill in the rest of the blanks. So it's okay to have a T-junction there because we just assume that the city goes beyond this display. After all, what you're seeing is just a small cross-section of a city. I'm going to use straight plates over here, but one thing I've done And I do suggest you do this if you do have a Lego city and you're using road plates, and that is to extend the sidewalk. What I've done over here is to tile 2x2 dark plates and 1 by something long plates to create an extension for the sidewalk. And what you do then is to remove all these light gray tiles and change them for dark gray tiles. I'm not going to do it, but I'm just telling you for the sake of this demonstration. If you remove all those light gray tiles that come with the original Expert Modular building and change them to dark gray, you're now going to have a much longer sidewalk which bleeds onto the road, which is really nice. A bigger sidewalk means you can put more small builds, or you can put more minifigs, and there's just much more opportunity and real estate to work with. I've got one more over here, and that will be placed here. Now I know what you might be thinking, what about that 8-stud space there? Well, that's very simple. You then custom cut a road plate, which I've done over here. And the great thing about this, I also get another zebra crossing here, which is in line with the alley. What I'm going to do here is to add this curve plate here, and notice how I've added that particular tiling as well for the continuity of the sidewalk. And I didn't do it for this one, but just imagine that this carries on as well. So we have this display. We've got a curve, so this is almost a loop that goes to an intersection. And of course, you can display the road plates in any way you want, any configuration, as long as it makes sense to you and is logical in the setup of a Lego city. I think what we've done here is to create quite a nice dynamic display with just 2 modular buildings. The key now is to add life and bustle to this city display. You don't need extra buildings. If you've got small buildings, great, you can put them in and that adds variety. If not, focus on small builds and minifigs, and in this case, if you have vehicles, it would be great to populate the roads as well. Let me put together a small display and see if it adds to this particular Lego city. So here we have the same city layout, but now populated with vehicles and minifigs. I spent just literally 15 minutes putting this together, but for your own Lego city, you're going to put much more time and effort to create a really interesting city display. But this is what I came up with. I always like to create little scenes of activity and things in motion. For example, we've got a little car accident over here. This lorry looks like it knocked into the tree, and we have the little mini which obviously banged into the lorry and even flipped over. There seems to be a casualty. There's a policeman over there, but luckily we have a doctor who happened to be nearby for lunch, and he's coming to the aid, so that's good. We've also got more cops over here and just minifigs standing around as you'd expect when there's an accident. Everyone just watches and takes a photograph. Over here we've got a policeman waking up a drunk sailor. Got more minifigs over here. And in the back, let's go to the alley. We've got a cleaner, and if you look in the dumpster, that looks like a kid who's obviously trying to inject something inside him. He obviously didn't build a Lego city, which is why he turned to drugs. And over here on top of the building, we actually have a lady who's emptying her trash directly into the dumpster below. When you have modular buildings, even though they may be standard buildings, you can add to them. Like I added a billboard to this particular modular building, and we've got a welder who's working on the supports. And let's go back down to the roads, and we've got lots of different vehicles, from buses to tow trucks to a Lego truck and cars. This is a bus stop over here. Let's move past the accident scene and we'll come over to this corner of the setup, and I've added a mini house over here. This fits in the space because if you have a curved road plate, there's actually a little space for you to work with, and you can put a mini build there. There's a flower cart and a hot dog stand next to it, along with a telephone. If you want building instructions for this mini house, do go to smallbrickcity.com and you can actually sign up to get a free download. We've got really detailed instructions for this mini house and some interesting background information and how you can use this house as the base template to build a larger Lego city or cluster of buildings. Outside the brick bank, we've got a coffee cart and just more vehicles. That's basically about it. But what I've done is try to create scenes and different little activities going on throughout the city display. So when someone looks at this display, there's always a surprise around the corner or a specific point of the city, which really makes it interesting. I hope you enjoyed this look at how to get started with a Lego city, even if you have just 2 modular buildings. You can create a really interesting city with lots of life and activity going on, even though it may be a small setup and you've got only 2 buildings and a couple of road plates. Let me know which is your favorite part of the city setup, and let me know why in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't, please subscribe to the channel and be sure to check out these 2 videos before you go.